Hello and welcome to Chapter 2's dramatic reading of The Rainbow Boys featuring Kyle. Oh joy. Alright, we now begin
Chapter 2?
Yes.
Okay. Wait. Kyle stared at the empty doorway. I can't believe I was such a spaz, knocking the damn chairs over. He turned to Nelson. And you! Giving him that stupid button! Why'd you do that? Nelson gave a contrite shrug.
I guess I screwed up, didn't I?
Kyle glanced towards the door. Maybe I can catch up with him. In an instant, he raced through the door and down the 4 flights. When he reached the front stoop, he looked down one end of the street, then the other. Had the man of his dreams really shown up at the meeting? He searched every block around the neighborhood. Only after he was completely convinced Jason was nowhere to be found did he grudgingly board the metro down toward the suburbs. Crestfallen, he cursed Nelson all the way home. Shut up, Nelson.
Kyle! Honey! Are you okay?
Deep in thought, Kyle had failed to see his mom kneeling by the front lawn flower bed. She grabbed a handful of tulip bulbs.
You're having a breakdown.
I know.
You look a little troubled.
Kyle watched her plant the bulbs in the newly dug-in earth, wishing he could tell her about Jason. Of course, first he'd have to tell her he was gay. She'd get upset and tell his dad. He'd make a federal case out of it, guaranteed. Kyle handed her some bulbs. I'm fine. Is there anything to eat?
Cookies in the kitchen. Be careful. I just waxed the floor. By the way, Dad has a surprise for you.
She called after him.
Remember to wipe your feet.
Kyle kicked his shoes off inside the front door and set them on the shelf for shoes. His mom was pretty obvious about cleanliness. His dad sat in his recliner watching a football game. Kyle grabbed a couple of cookies. Mom said she had a surprise for me. His dad reached into his shirt pocket and with a flourish whipped out an envelope.
Dun, dun, dun.
Ta-da! Guess! Come on!
Kyle hated it. Kyle hated when his dad treated him like a kid. He was 17 now. I don't want to guess. He bit into a cookie. His dad's mouth drooped.
You used to love to guess!
He sighed and opened the envelope, revealing the contents like he was at the Academy Awards or something.
Tickets to the Redskins, Sunday after Thanksgiving. Just you and me.
Kyle said, "Great." But his mind was still on Jason. His dad frowned.
You don't look so excited.
Kyle shrugged and started up the stairs. Didn't his dad realize there were more important things in life than tickets to the Redskins? He sat down on his bed and took his cap off. Once in a lifetime he takes his cap off. He opened his nightstand drawer and pulled out his yearbook. He turned the dog-eared pages to his favorite picture. Jason, number 77, was racing down the court, intensity on his face, curls flying, muscles taut, sheer power in motion. The crowd was cheering in the background. The digital clock showed 6 seconds before the final buzzer. His shot had led the team to the state championships. Okay. And the crowd goes wild. Okay. Kyle had met Jason on his first day at school as he jostled through the crowded halls searching for his homeroom.
Hey, what's up?
Called a voice behind him.
You dropped your schedule.
When Kyle turned, the cutest boy he'd ever seen handed him his schedule and asked,
Know where room 128 is?
Kyle's heart wedged in his throat, but he managed to cough up an answer. I think it's this way. The boy led the boy down the hall and discovered their lockers faced each other. For the rest of his freshman year, Kyle arrived at school early enough to greet Jason. His olive-skinned Adonis always waved a friendly "what's up," but Kyle felt too shy to respond with anything beyond "Okay, how about you?" He contented himself with stealing glimpses in the halls. Before long, he mesmerized. He'd mesmerized Jason's schedule. He memorized Jason's schedule, knowing the exact instant when he could turn the corner and pass by. Since Kyle was little, he'd known that he was different, though he couldn't explain exactly how. When other boys began to talk about girls, he never felt interested. But it was another story when he bragged about their erections and first ejaculations.
Ooh. We should censor this. People don't know about this, you guys.
And while he laughed with classmates at fags and AIDS jokes, on the inside he felt ashamed and frightened. His one source of hope was the nightly news, where he saw images of gay people different from the caricatures of jokes. Gay soldiers battled in court for the right to serve in the military. Lesbian moms fought to keep their children. Protesters picketed Congress for AIDS funding. Even the grown men in high heels and elaborate costumes who laughed and paraded on Pride Day seemed anything but despicable. Yeah. Then in 8th grade, he got braces. Boo, braces. That made him feel even more like an alien. His mom tried to cheer him up.
Don't worry, handsome. Once you get your braces off, you'll have to fight off the girls.
Whoopee. The image failed to comfort him. Meanwhile, his dad nagged him to go out for sports. Kyle couldn't throw a ball to save his life, but he liked watching the Olympic swimmers on TV, so he joined the swim team, where he hid among laps in the pool and stole underwater glances. He was just getting used to being called Metal Mouth Meeks when disaster struck again. The school nurse said he needed glasses. He came home from the what is that? Optometrist with optometrist with wire frames sliding down his nose, retreating to his bedroom, and stared in the mirror. Between braces and glasses, he felt like the ugliest, most lonely boy in the universe. Tear. Then he met Nelson. From the moment he first saw him in art class, Kyle knew Nelson was different. When Miss Mactroff paired them up to draw each other's portraits, Kyle panicked and asked to be excused to the infirmary. After school, Nelson tracked him down.
Let's get this out. You know I'm queer. I know you're queer. Get over it.
He turned and started to walk away. Kyle felt a rush, like he'd burst from the water after a high dive. He was no longer alone. "Hey!" he shouted. Nelson turned back towards him. Kyle wasn't sure what to say. He'd called out on impulse without thinking. He pushed his glasses up on the bridge of his nose and tugged on his cap, stalling. You draw really well. I mean it." Nelson stared at him.
Thanks. My mom's a graphic designer. She taught me. It's not that hard, really.
Kyle stepped closer, even though he still felt a little nervous. "Really?"
Yeah.
Nelson smiled.
I'll show you.
Soon, Kyle was spending every afternoon at Nelson's. They wrestled without dumb rules and did mud facials together. With Nelson, Kyle didn't have to pretend to be anything other than himself. And Nelson seemed to know everything about being gay. He told Kyle about Alexander the Great, Oscar Wilde, and Michelangelo. He explained the Stonewall riots and defined words like cruising and drag.